My job is all about purpose.
Just the ability to make a difference, you know, to help someone be able to go home at the end of the day.
My great-grandfather started the volunteer fire department in Springfield, Nebraska. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle was a fire chief in Atlanta, Georgia. So somewhere down the line, it was my purpose to be doing this.
Yeah, we're a family here.
The data we get from Rapid SOS is life-saving.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
This was part of a call Brooklyn Field made to 911 that was answered by dispatcher Ashley Williams on September 8th at 6:46 p.m.
Received a 911 call, and it was a mom who was frantic. Her baby was unresponsive, not breathing, and we walked her through CPR and was able to bring the baby back on the phone before medics showed up.
I was very terrified in that moment, and I felt very alone, and all I knew to do was to call 911. And as soon as she answered the phone, I didn't feel alone anymore in that moment. And it was a huge blessing to have her on the other end of that line that day. So
go ahead and pinch her nose, and with your hand, lift her chin so that her head is tilted back. Make sure there's nothing inside of her mouth.
There's nothing.
Okay, go ahead and cover her mouth with your mouth and give her 2 quick breaths.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS, Safer Together, the leading AI company in public safety. And a big shout out to subscribers, as always. Thank you very, very much, but especially all of you who are watching, supporting, listening, and sharing. I would not be able to do this without all of you. It is March 18th, 2026, and it is my son Logan's 22nd birthday. Oh, snap. Yes. Happy birthday, bud. Love you very much. He can probably hear me. He's in the other room right now as I'm recording this. So he can probably hear me. But, I remember years ago when he was super tiny and I'd be carrying him into dispatch and he would be running around as we're in dispatch and everything and just talking, hanging out. Luckily, I didn't get forced in during the time that I was there. I had to hurry up and run and get out of there just in case. But I remember those times and hanging out with the deputies. One of the deputies actually posted a comment from my birthday post on social media on Instagram where he says, happy birthday, Loganator. And that was from when he was maybe 3 or 4. And we were hanging out with some of the deputies and other dispatchers, and that's what they called him, the Loganator. So very funny. Again, happy birthday. A lot of big things coming up. We are getting into prime conference time. April, I'm almost gone the whole month. We got Navigator coming up. I'm going to be the MC out in Missouri. for their award ceremony that they have for dispatchers, call takers, and so much more. I'm going to be teaching out there as well. And then it's just going to go on with conferences and teaching all over the place. So keep an eye out for all of that, and you'll be seeing a lot more. Also, this is the 10-year anniversary of the I Am 911 movement, and we've got all kinds of stories coming up, as well as, and I'm saying it here for the first time because I'm working on it, this is the original challenge coin for the Imagine Listening sessions, but there's a new one that I have coming up, because for this anniversary, I'm calling it Decade of Voices. And there will be a new coin coming up that's going to be on those Imagine Listening sessions. So make sure to look out for that. With all of that now out of the way, I am super excited for my guest. And we've got a lot to talk about. So let's jump right in. My guest today is Ashley. She is a 911 professional out of Skiatook Police Department in Oklahoma. Hello, hello.
Hi.
How are you doing? How's it going?
Fantastic.
Excellent. For those who are watching and listening, just to say really quick, she's currently at work as well, and there were some things going on right beforehand, and I've had times where the same thing has happened. Like we're about to record and stuff, and someone comes in, they're like, "So we've got something going on. Like, I'm okay to record and everything." I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, if you need to step away like for a little bit, I'll wait."
Gotcha.
But I'm glad everything is going well, and as I said, we have a ton to talk about today. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. And so, how did you get involved in public safety to begin with? Do you come from a public safety family, or did you just kind of fall into it?
Well, my husband was a police officer.
Mhm.
He's gone on to other ventures now, but he did that for several years, and I was interested in it. And when he came out of it, I decided to go ahead and get in it.
So did you get a chance to do well? How long did you say that he was an officer before he went on? I love how you put it, other adventures.
Other adventures,
Yeah.
yes.
How long was he an officer?
About 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
Mhm.
So for that time then, when he during that time building up and everything, did you do any ride-alongs with him or just anything like that? Did you even get to do any sit-alongs in dispatch?
No, I had never done anything. I heard the radio traffic. Obviously,
Yeah.
we had the radio in the window, but
Mhm.
other than that, I really had no experience in it.
So what was it that I guess really drew you to it?
The whole reason, like the very beginning of it, before you actually get it, you know nothing about it.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're learning a new language, all the codes on the radio, and I was like, I can do that. So once I was confident, I knew the codes, I knew what they were saying to each other. I was like, I think I want to do that. And then you get in here and realize the codes are different. So,
You're
so I learned a
right.
whole nother language, but yeah.
That is hilarious. Yeah, no, you are correct. Because I remember, I would watch stuff on TV or whatever growing up. And for me, the show that I loved growing up was Rescue 911. And
Mhm.
it was hosted by William Shatner. And there were codes on there too. And I ended up starting out in a small PD in Central Florida. You've got all of those different codes and everything else there. But then when I moved
Mhm.
back home to Southwest Michigan and we start learning those codes, like, yeah, everything is different.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, the only universal one really is 10-4, right? So
Mhm.
you're like, okay, well, I know that one. But but otherwise, you end up getting to a point where you've got flashcards, you're trying to remember everything, and
Mhm.
it gets crazy. So you were listening to those codes, you were learning the different languages and everything. Husband leaves, you decide to get into
Yep.
dispatch. How long did the hiring process last?
The hiring process was quick.
Mhm.
They made a post. I saw it on Facebook. I was like, let's just see. And I applied for it. She emailed me like 3 days later. I did the interview and I was in here, maybe 2 weeks total. It was
Wait,
fast.
what?
Yeah, it was fast.
No way. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So that's probably one of the faster ones that I've heard out of these episodes. I mean, there are others, and I mean like present time, because even when I started in 2001, I got my call back. I put in my app. I got a call saying that I had an interview. I go in for the interview. However, after the interview, it took like 2 months. I didn't hear a thing from them for 2 months, and I thought, oh, I guess I didn't make it. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, the only reason it took 2 weeks, I believe, the person that sent me the email back and was like, "Hey, are you available? Can you come in for the interview?" Sent it to the wrong email. So for several
Oh,
days, they had to call and they're like, "Hey, are you still interested?" And I was like, "Yeah." So it was delayed a little bit by an email snafu, but
so for all you know, it would have been like the end of the week, or maybe even a few days
yes.
later or something. That
Yes.
holy moly! Okay, so you get the information and all, and so you find out that you've got the job. You're going in for that first day. One, how are you feeling? And when you walk in, so that everyone who's watching and listening can imagine this with you and kind of experience this, what are you seeing? Are there multiple people working at the same time, multiple screens, different keyboards? What are you seeing and how are you feeling in that moment walking in?
We are a small facility, so
Mhm.
we're a one and done. Like we do everything, you catch it, you clean it type situation. If you get the call, you put the call out.
Yeah.
So when I got here, there was other people working and just watching them. It was fluid what they were doing. And then you start to second guess yourself and you're like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that the way that they do it. Just it's very fluid and professional. And it was nerve-wracking to watch them.
Oh man, you just gave me goosebumps. You're taking me back because I remember that same feeling. So going in the beginning, the very the single seat PD,
Hmm.
I find out that that I got the job, but also that I'm starting that same night. So
Oh.
yes, yeah. So so the chief of police goes to my house, asks me if I still want the position. I say yes, and he goes, "Will you start tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, here we go." And I go in, and that same night, after about 25 minutes, I was already taking 911 calls. And again, this is 2001, but I'm freaking out because I've only been there
Hmm.
25 minutes. And my trainer goes, "All right, you're next." After I observed him take a call, he goes, "You're next." And I thought, hell no, like there's no way. But I did. I sat there, and that first call, thank the Lord, was a butt dial.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I got so lucky. I remember that lady, I will never forget her voice, and she just goes, "Oh, sir, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to call." In the back of my mind, I'm like, "No, lady, thank you," because I was sitting here freaking out and sweating. So,
Yes.
I have that happen, but you go in and you watch them, and like you said, it's overwhelming. You do
Hmm.
kind of when you see because what you see them doing, I've explained it, my first time going into the central dispatch where there's a team working, seeing people do things, multitasking,
Hmm.
looking like an octopus. Like you would think, that you've got all
Yep.
the arms and everything going and
Yep.
doing things, and they're also eating at the same time. So
Hmm.
you're like, how am I going to do this? Am I going to be able to do this? So you're having these same feelings going in there. What are some of the first things that they have you doing? I'm guessing it's like policies and learning, different codes, or what do they have you doing that first day?
Yeah, so pretty much it was policies. I remember on the first day coming in, sitting down, the girl is having a full conversation with me while a massive accident has happened. So they're running everything on the computer. She never ceased conversation. It was just we just kept talking and I'm freaking out internally because I'm like, don't we have to do something? And she's just doing it. And you don't even realize at some point she's already done what you're freaking out about. But after that, we talked for the first day. I watched everything they did. It took 2 days so I can do some training to get some certificates to make
Mhm.
sure I knew what I was doing before I jumped on the phone. And day 4,
Right.
I was running a console.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Okay. Yeah, you're definitely taking me back to that first dispatch center that I was in, because the central dispatch, we had different phases. And the first night that I was there, it was a midnight shift, and I think I did a 1 to 5, 1A to 5A. And I was sitting at a console. However, I was hooked up with a headset on the umbilical cord, as we called it,
Yep.
and I'm just listening, right? I'm just listening and observing. So I wasn't doing anything else, but damn, they threw you right in. So that's you've and I love the way you explain it as well, that you're sitting there with the trainer having a full-on conversation while working that whole thing, because for those who are
Mhm.
watching and listening who don't understand, we've got this what I call dispatch ear that is listening to every single thing that is going on, and we're able to keep that conversation going. And I remember in the central dispatch, officers would come in and we would have kind of, the same type of interaction that you explained, and they would say, how do you guys do that? And what we would say is, it's FM. And they would go, I what does that mean? And we would say, it's effing magic. Like, we just do it.
Mhm.
And it's hard for other people to understand.
It's an
But
acquired skill.
exactly. Yes, yes. So you're there that first day, and even, past that time, you're sitting at a console too after a couple days. When do you when do you start? Actually, before I get to this part, what is the training like? So you said you're one person, you're working there. Is it 8 hours, 12 hours? And then how are they working? Are you just working at the console and learning all this stuff as you go?
Yeah, so now we have multiple, so there's always two people on now, but when
Mhm.
I first started, it was one at the console. So you're training, you're running a console, you're doing everything all at the same time. So, but our training experience here, anyways, is extensive.
Mhm.
We have a lot of training material that we have to do. So we rotate out and do a lot of training. So all the different programs, so like total response, things
Mhm.
like that, we have extensive training on them.
Oh man. So and that's yeah, that's a definitely a good thing, because we definitely need to be trained in all things. And so, and you guys do all disciplines of public safety then. So police,
Yes.
fire, EMS, all of that.
Mhm.
And so you're a two minimum then for
Yeah,
people on?
currently we still have some gaps in coverage, but yeah,
Mhm.
we're 12-hour shifts, 2 minimum if possible.
Nice. So when you got in there, having no other experience but hearing, the radio traffic every so often,
Mhm.
was there anything that surprised you when you started working?
I came in with no expectations. That was my whole selling point during the interview is, "Why do you think you'd be best for the job?" "Well, I'm not trained in any way. You don't have to untrain me, so I'm a blank slate."
Oh,
So I come in knowing nothing, so nothing was shocking.
so they would be, I like that. That's, and for those watching and listening, if you're looking for a tip, like that's a good tip right there, because a lot of times too, it's always good to have someone come in that has previous experience, but to have someone that, like, you clean slate and everything, you're
Mhm.
able to really mold that person. Where, like, for me, I had about 4 years of experience at that PD before I moved back home to Southwest Michigan and got the position in the county that I grew up in, at that central dispatch. So it was it was good that I had the experience, but it was also, a hindrance a little bit in a way, because I had the training from the other place, and then they're trying to train me on things, and I'm like, well, the way, and they're like, nope, this is the way we do it here. And I'm like, oh, you're right. You are correct. I apologize. So it's the same thing with, someone in EMS or fire or even police coming into dispatch after being out in the field, because, they're used to being hands-on. So it's a little harder for them to kind of make that transition. So I love the way you explained that you're a clean slate and there's nothing that you need to untrain, because you've never been trained before. So before that, though, before coming into dispatch, what were you doing before that?
We owned our own business.
Mhm.
So I was working for our business before that, and previous to that, I did 10 years as a dispatcher for a trucking company.
Oh, all right. So you had, like, kind of some experience already and everything, and depending on the business that you were working and everything, any type of customer service or something like that,
Mhm.
that also helps for when you are coming in. There are folks that I've had on here that I've spoken to where like I think someone if I remember correctly, they were, oh, what was it? I think it might have been like a daycare center or something. And I said to them, "Do you feel like that helped you at all, like coming into this?" And they're like, "Yeah, because sometimes our officers are like kids
Mhm.
and or callers, and we're
Mhm.
trying to get them to answer our questions and everything." And I thought, oh, that's hilarious. So for some of the stuff that you were doing coming in, it sounds like it was kind of preparing you for what you do now.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helped with the radio ear. Already had
Mhm.
that. And the fear of talking over the radio and saying something you're not supposed to, I didn't have that because I was already in it.
I dig that too, because even though I had the experience going into the central dispatch, when I got to the radio piece of it, I remember that I wanted so badly to do well that sometimes on the radio I would literally look at my trainer and say, "It's just 10-4, right?"
Yes.
like my response, and they would go, "Yeah. Yeah, it is." I'm like, "Okay, I just want to make sure that there isn't anything added that I need to say." I said, "I don't want to piss them off." And after I said 10-4, I remember my trainer going, "Listen, you're probably going to piss them off anyway.
Mhm.
So you just do what you do and you'll be fine. And if you need them to repeat something, just make sure to ask them, because that playback isn't always going to save you. And it
Mhm.
might be that time that you're trying to play something back and you're taking that time when it would be just easy enough to ask them, and you're able to help them or save them or something. So just ask, don't be afraid. So I'm like, okay, but it took a little bit, and it took that almost a little kick in my ass to say, okay, i I need to break out of this. We'll go. So I'm glad that you had that as well, and it sounds like you had some good training too.
Yeah, our program, it's 12 weeks. There's a lot to it, and some of it's redundant, but
Mhm.
it's helpful.
Oh yes, always like a refresher and everything to learn.
Yes.
I've I've heard people say that in this profession we are always learning something, and when you get
Yes.
to a point where you feel like there's nothing else to learn, well, it might be time for you to
Yeah.
to leave or something, because we're always learning something new in this profession with everything that we do. So you end up going through your training. How long did the training actually last?
I was in training technically for 12 weeks. I took a desk at day 4,
Mhm.
and then they just kind of monitor progression and make sure my training's getting done. And from the 12 weeks on, I've been on my own, but we have like total response. We had Gary come in,
Mhm.
and I mean, very intensive training. We know the ins and outs and the backside of it. And in
And hello,
addition,
Gary. If you end up watching this, hello, Gary. What up, dude? So so you end up going through this extensive training and everything,
Mhm.
and it's just over 12 weeks or so that you're doing this. Now, during that time, I mean, do you remember your first 911 call or even some of those earlier ones that you were taking?
I do not remember my first 911 call,
Mhm.
but I remember it's something insignificant. It was not like I didn't have to do anything with it.
So it's probably like an alarm call or
Yeah, it was, I can't remember what it was. It was,
more non-emergency than emergency calls.
there's dogs running in the park. Like,
Ah, yeah.
okay.
See, and that's another thing that people don't always understand too. Like they would ask me, you know, "You guys are just taking 911 calls all day, huh?" I'm like, "Well, kind of, but also a lot of the 911 calls that come in are not actually emergencies." And
Mhm.
they're like, "What? Why are they calling 911?" And I would say, "I like to know that too."
The worst calls come in on the regular non-emergency line.
Yeah, and that is freaky sometimes. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that too is because I remember when I was in training at the central dispatch, The old phone system that we had, and again, this is like 2007 or 2005, 2006 rather, when I started there. And that phone system was a system that they had from like the mid 90s. So there wasn't even caller ID on that actual, like, for the non-emergency lines. So someone would call in, and I will never forget, there was a person who called in, and they were having a medical emergency, and I'm going through it, and my trainer's like, "Oh my god, like, they're calling on a non-emergency line,"
Mhm.
and we lose the call. There's no way to call that person back. Luckily, they ended up calling on 911, and on we in that, it was more updated on the screen, we had all the information, but for just even just the split second felt like an hour, hoping that they called back, and thank the Lord that they did. But
Yeah.
man, sometimes, yeah, you're right. Sometimes those calls come in, and it is right there on the non-emergency line. It can be crazy. Did you do so once you got past your training and everything, did you do any ride-alongs from there at all?
No.
Oh, man. Okay, so no
Nope.
ride-alongs at all. Okay.
Straight into it. Yep.
Holy crap. Okay. Well, the reason I say too is because like some centers during training, they'll send their dispatchers and call takers with officers to see what that side is like and do a ride along. So, are you able to do any ride alongs?
Yeah, it's part of, if we want to do them, it's part of
Hmm.
it to show us boundaries and how everything works
Oh,
on
okay.
that side of everything. We also
Hmm.
have the opportunity to ride with fire and EMS if we want to do that. So they're very open to cross training.
That is cool because that also, especially if those folks end up coming to dispatch as well. We started doing something at the Central Dispatch Center where we were always the ones who were doing the ride along. So we ended up having deputies come in or even city PD, and then there was fire and EMS and such. But it was a good way for us to bridge the gap between all of those disciplines so that we could
Hmm.
fully understand what everyone was doing, but also they could understand what we do. And pretty much every time someone would say, "Yeah, I don't know how you guys do this. I'd rather be out on the road." I'm like, "Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna remember that you said that because next
Yes.
time next time when I send you to stand by so that I can run something for you, you know that we're not just sitting here. We've got
Hmm.
a lot of stuff going on." So, you go through your training, you start taking calls and everything. Was there anything that kind of, I guess, really stood out to you at all when you first started out?
The shock factor, I honestly thought you'd take a call from somebody and you don't know them. It's not going to affect you at all. It's fine. And then you get that first call where they found a family member deceased in a chair in the living room, and you're like, oh, it does affect you. It doesn't matter if you think it's not going to, it will.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, where you work in dispatch, do you live in the same area or do you live outside of the area?
I live in the same area.
Okay, so that right there ends up adding even more to what you just said because you end up having this, like you said, shock factor, and
Mhm.
especially because a lot of times you see things in the news locally, right?
Mhm.
And especially now, that there's more to the story. And I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again. And it's I can't take credit for it, but it was as stupid as it sounds. It was just on a meme that I read this, but it made perfect sense. Where as we're talking about this, as kids, you watch Scooby Doo, and you see them looking for these monsters, right? Well, when they find the monster, they would finally catch them, and they take the mask off. They're human, and that's when you see it as an adult, you're like, oh man, they were kind of preparing us as adults to say monsters are real and they're all human. And when you get into dispatch, that's when you start seeing that side of it. And when you work in an area that you live, there's also the possibility that you might take phone calls from people that you know. So you've got that excuse me, that shock factor and everything that you were talking about. And are you able to, or have you rather, have you gone home after some of these hard calls or anything and just sat down to sit, and talk with your husband, because he was an officer before. So
Mhm.
I figure it would be a lot easier to be able to talk to him versus, I guess, just burying it.
Yeah, when he was an officer coming home, there was that moment. You come home, you take your time, you just reflect yourself about it. He never brought any of that to the house.
Mhm.
We didn't discuss it. I do the same thing. When I get home, you have your 15 minutes, reflect on it, let it go, and move on from it. And we just don't bring it back into our home.
See, and that's definitely a good thing as well, that you give yourself some time, 15 minutes or whichever, however long it ends up being, and to reflect and talk it out. Because there's a lot of folks that they don't get the chance to do that. And sometimes they feel that they can't do that at work either, where, if they start talking about certain things, that their coworkers will think that they're weak or that they can't hack it or anything, so they don't say anything. So I'm glad that you're able to have those 15 minutes, but also potentially with whoever's there when you're working, to be able to speak to someone as well. Do you guys
Mhm.
have peer support, or do you have any debriefings or anything like that when bigger calls happen?
Yeah, when there's major events, we have the debriefings, but I don't, not every major event gets a
Mhm.
debriefing.
Yeah.
But our support system here, we're more of a family, which is most facilities. But there's not a person here that I couldn't go to and say, hey, can I just talk to you for a minute? Because every one of them would.
And that I love as well, because again, there are some places that don't have that. And yeah, even today, with the amount of resources and everything that are out there, there's a lot of places that don't, and that sucks. And I think that's why a lot of times people leave. I mean, of course, there's other factors. They might have found a different job, or it's more money somewhere else, less stress, or whichever. But I've spoken to a lot of people who have decided to leave a center because they don't have what you just mentioned. They don't have people who are supportive, or really they just don't care. And it's like, yeah, well, this is what the job is. Just
Mhm.
do what you're going to do, and keep going. If you don't like it, leave. And people leave, and they go to different places. I mean, I spoke to a person in North Carolina once, a few years back, who left the center that they were working at originally. They lived about 15 or so minutes from there, and they got paid really well. But because it was a toxic environment, they decided to drive almost, I think they said 3.5 hours away, to a different dispatch center,
Oh.
rented out an apartment, worked there all week and made less money, and then came home over the weekend. And I've told people this story before in when I teach, and they are like, "Oh, I would," they have the look on their face like, "I would never do that."
Mm-mm.
And I know a lot of people, think that way as well, but you have to also question, how bad was it there that that person decided to do that? So I'm glad that you guys have, that type of support and everything. Do you guys have any emotional support animals at all?
We're approved to have one. We're looking for the right fit for one.
Oh, very nice. They're very nice. So
Yep.
what are some that you're looking for? And the reason I say is because I know people from other dispatch centers who have not your typical emotional support animal.
Uh, we were looking for a cat.
Mhm.
Haven't found the right fit yet, but our animal control brings in dogs.
Oh, all right. Well, that's
So
awesome then.
we at least get to play with the puppies when they're around and until we can find the right fit for what we're looking for.
Well, that is always a good thing, and I love that as well. I'll go into dispatch centers, and they'll have their dog there or something, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "All right, this is awesome." I've got a friend in Georgia who has reptiles, And yeah, I like you're like, oh,
Oh, okay.
there are a lot of people who have that response too. They're like, oh, or others will go like, no, you can keep that one. That would not soothe me. That would raise the anxiety and panic. So but she uses these reptiles as well as a way to educate the public, but also especially for kids. So when they have, an event where they're teaching kids about 911 and everything, she'll have, whether it be, snakes or lizards or whatever, and she has them there. And I've seen the pictures and the kids are like, yeah. So that helps, right? It helps in a way. And, it's good PR for their center too, to be able to do that. But I've got a friend, her name's Heather. She dispatches here in Indiana. She was doing traveling dispatching, but she's back in Indiana now. And her and her ESA are kind of famous. So they have, she has a skunk. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, maybe I was gonna say maybe you've seen her. I don't know, but her skunk's name, and people always ask, like, can it spray? And like, no, it doesn't spray or anything. But it is super soft, and because I've held it before. The skunk's name is Nugs. It's Nugget. Its name is Nugget, and it also has its own like county ID, and I believe the name was 42 PU is the skunk's name. I know, you're like, come on.
That's perfect.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So she goes around and she teaches and everything with Nugs and everything too. And I've been in her class before, sitting in back, just watching everyone go, can I hold him? Can I hold him? And I think it's really cool to have a lot of different centers. In Colorado, Aurora, at one time when I was there, they had a baby lamb named Muffin. That was their emotional support animal. And I was there recording episodes with them, and I was teaching out there. And the person who owned Muffin walks in, and I immediately got my phone out. I was like, look at you. And it's all over my face. I'm like, you're so soft. But the skunk, Nugs, when I met them the first time, I was going out there to record with them, and I had been going through a lot of family stuff medically that was going on. My mom's eldest sister, my aunt, was at the end of her cancer battle. So there was a lot of stuff going on at that time. So when I got there, she asked if I was okay. And at first I said, oh yeah, I'm fine. But in the back of my head, I'm like, stupid, practice what you preach. So I said, actually, no, I'm not okay. And she goes, do you want to hold him? And I just said, yeah. And I said, I don't know how to hold him though. And she goes, just like a baby. And I was like, all right, I got 4 kids. So I hold on to him. And I swear he put his little arms over my arm and pulled me in. And he like snuggled into me, and I looked at her and I about lost it. And I went, he knew. It was one of the most hilarious but also sweetest things to happen. And then we recorded the episode. So that's why I asked about emotional support animals and everything. So I hope that you guys, since you're approved, that you are able to get a dog in there. But it's also cool that your animal control brings them in so that you can hold them, love on them. And when you do so, just for those who are watching and listening, how does that make you feel?
On really bad days, she'll go get an animal. I don't know if it's just the warmth of them, whatever it is. They're sympathetic almost, the way they look at you, and they just let you love on them and hold them, and it just makes everything better.
Yes, I agree. Yes. That's why I asked too, because everyone, will have a different way of explaining it, but you're right. They just know. And they just kind of, a friend of mine, Ryan Chambers, he has his dog, and he goes around and teaches and stuff too. And his dog's name is Chase. And I believe it's a Labradoodle is what it is. Super fluffy. And when he comes around, I'm like, "Hey, Chase, what's going on?" And he'll like slam into me. I'm like, "Yeah, you know."
Mhm.
You know, so I'll just be there like loving on him and stuff. And it is always a cool moment and everything. So as we're kind of talking about that, and maybe I should have saved that part for after what I'm about to ask you, but um if so you've been dispatching for about a year now.
Mhm.
And throughout that time, other than the call that we're going to talk about here in a moment, are there any calls that kind of stick with you? And also, only if you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I don't have any that have stuck with me
Mhm.
necessarily for more than a day or two. It's one of those things they stick with you, you think about it. If it stays with me when I go home and I can't get through it, then you talk about it and they don't they don't affect you as much after you get
Mhm.
it out in the open. It's some for some reason you say something out loud and it just seems to help make it ease through. So I don't have anything that has really stuck with me.
So I'm glad that you have that as well, because there are a lot of folks, especially people that have been friends with for a long time, who have said, I put it on a shelf and I leave it at work. It doesn't come home with me. But a lot of times it's BS, because it does impact you. You don't realize it, but it's doing a lot of things. And the reason I say that too is because I was the same way. I used to tell people that and I used to think it myself. But then I get home and I'm talking to my wife and dispatch air is going. It doesn't turn off. It doesn't ever turn off. And 2013, the end of 2013 was the end of my dispatch career. And I've been on the private side ever since. And it still doesn't turn off. Like I'll be at a conference at a dinner with someone and I will be able to hear what's going on like 5 tables away. And they'll say, "What did you hear?" And I'm like, "Well, that person's in trouble because they shouldn't have done what they did." But I would be there talking with my wife and I hear the TV, I hear the kids, I hear everything that's going on, and then I'm right back with her and she goes, "Did you even hear what I said?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And I'll repeat it almost in verbatim what she was saying. She's like, "I don't know how you do that." I'm like, "Well, I'm trained." So and
Yeah.
and I can still do that now. And some of those folks who friends of mine who have said that, now they've retired out and now they're struggling and stuff has come back because there were things that they thought that were not bothering them and they didn't address it during that time. So now they're having this almost a kind of like an imposter syndrome type
Mhm.
situation where now they feel like they can't reach out to their friends in 911 because they're not in it anymore. And I always tell people, once dispatch, always dispatch. If you are ever struggling, please um don't hold back, like reach out to people or something like that, because we definitely all know what it's like. So in your case, I'm glad that you're able to get it out almost right away, because too another thing is I've always told people that getting it out, talking about it just in general, is that first step, and then it's easier to manage a lot of that stuff. So with you, I'm glad that you are already talking about some of those things and moving forward, because you've gotten it out, where a lot of times people will hold it in because they don't have anybody else.
Mhm.
So more props to you, Ashley. That is awesome.
Thanks.
That really is. That is really good, because you're a year in, but you already have that part down. Because again, a lot of people, they even today, they're still holding stuff back. So thank you for being like, inspiration for people to really talk about these things and get them out there. So I want to play something for you here really quick, not just for you, because you experienced this. You were the one who took the call. So really, I want to play this for the audience. but
Okay.
but we're going to listen to this together and then we're going to break it down, because um, you were able to assist with something that is just so awesome. And I'm just going to go ahead and play it. I won't set it up. I'll go ahead and play it and we'll go from there. So let me Let me make this bigger on my other screen over here, and then we'll put it up, and then we shall discuss. So here we go.
New at 9, a Skiatook dispatcher who helped a mother perform CPR on her 1-year-old daughter was honored at tonight's city council meeting. Fox 23's Ian Nickel was at that meeting and got a chance to talk with the dispatcher and the family.
Ashley Williams was honored Tuesday night with a life-saving award presented to her by the mother that called 911 on September 8th. We do have the audio from the 911 call, and we do want to warn you that the 911 call may be distressing for some viewers.
Oklahoma, my baby. Something's wrong with my baby.
Okay, is she awake and breathing?
This was part of a call Brooklyn Field made to 911 that was answered by dispatcher Ashley Williams on September 8th at 6:46 p.m.
Received a 911 call, and it was a mom who was frantic. Her baby was unresponsive, not breathing, and we walked her through CPR and was able to bring the baby back on the phone before medics showed up.
I was very terrified in that moment, and I felt very alone, and all I knew to do was to call 911. And as soon as she answered the phone, I didn't feel alone anymore in that moment, and it was a huge blessing to have her on the other end of that line that day. So
Go ahead and pinch her nose, and with your hand, lift her chin so that her head is tilted back. Make sure there's nothing inside of her mouth.
There's nothing.
Okay, go ahead and cover her mouth with your mouth and give her 2 quick breaths.
After giving field instructions to give Brooklyn's daughter CPR,
Okay, she's making noise. She's making noise. Is she breathing? Okay, she's crying.
My baby. My baby.
she began to breathe again. This call was personal to Ashley as a mother herself.
It was my own kid. Having that situation, I need somebody on the other end being calm and being able to talk me through it when I can't do it myself.
Williams was able to meet the family for the first time before Tuesday night's city council meeting.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
In the city council meeting, Williams received the life-saving award from the city of Skiatook and Brooklyn herself. In Skiatook, covering news that matters, I'm Ian Nickel, Fox 23 News.
Whew, that call and those hugs got me. Probably did you at home too. How scary, but thank goodness the dispatcher stayed calm and that baby is doing well today. You can learn more about how to perform CPR in this story on fox23.com and the free Fox 23 News app.
Wow. Well done right off the bat. Well done for just everything that you did during that call. And seeing that back, how are you feeling at the moment?
It's weird watching it back now versus when it actually happened. When it happened, you're detached from the moment and you're just trying to get what you have to do done. Watching it back after everything's smoothed over is a little bit hard, but just to listen to.
Yeah, I can only imagine just that little bit of audio, I can imagine would take you back to, a lot of what was going on. And, for those who are watching and listening, especially those who are not in public safety, have never done this job before, when you're going through, like listening to your voice, calm, you're level, right? But I always tell people that even though we sound calm, cool, and collected, in the back of our minds, we're freaking out just like you are because we're human. But it's our job to stay calm so that we can get you help as fast as possible. We are empaths. We put ourselves in the caller's shoes to be able to really connect with them on a different level, again, to understand what's going on and get them help as fast as possible. But it also ends up getting a little personal too, because you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably, thinking, what if this was my family? What if these were my kids? I would want whoever I'm talking to or whoever's talking to them or whichever to be treated the way I would want to be treated. So you've got all of these different things that are going on. So take us back through this. I mean, there was a lot of explanation there, but it's September 8th, it said, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the evening. So do you remember what was going on during that time? Were you having a conversation with someone? Were you just hanging up from another call or?
No, the call came in and we had a guy in working on a computer. So I was not at an original console. I was at a different one so I had just gotten back in there, getting everything done. So I was already a little off kilter. So when the call comes in, if somebody was to listen to that call without any context, like don't listen to you at all, just listen to the phone call, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going through the motions. Listening to the phone call without any context, you don't actually know what's happening. You just hear somebody screaming. And in that moment, I had no clue what she was saying. After the fact, knowing everything that happened, she was saying her daughter's name. I didn't know that's what she was saying. She was screaming an address at me and I couldn't understand the rest. So once I figured out, okay, got the address in, I went ahead and dispatched it out because she was frantic. She needed help. So I went ahead and got medics going that direction. And then finally we were able to find out, okay, the baby's 1, she's not breathing. So I waited a second, got all of my total response, everything ready that we were trained with, and asked her if she wanted to perform CPR. And when she agreed, we just went through all the steps until the baby started breathing again.
Wow. And yeah, and that has to be really frustrating as well because you have someone working on a computer and you've got calls coming in. And I'll put it this way: when you're in dispatch and you have your console set up, your station set up the way you want it, and they put you on something else, it almost kind of throws things off a little bit because I don't know, it's even something as simple as you've got your mouse where you set it, or even, you know, if you have a piece of paper where you're taking extra notes really fast or something, if you need to, that kind of throws you off, which it's weird to say, but it's true. Like this is your workstation. And yeah, so that already, like you were saying, is throwing it off, but you're going through this entire call. And once you get to the end, so did you, and like I said, they start playing it there a little bit. You can hear the baby and all, but did you already know that she was breathing again while you were on the phone?
Yes. So as we were going through, the mom hadn't quite realized she was still going through the procedure, doing CPR, but the baby started to make the gurgling sound. So air was moving.
Yeah.
So during the call, I had to tell her, okay, the baby's breathing. And then the baby started crying. And I was checking with the mom and she'd already checked out. Like now she's back with the baby. She can't hear what you're saying on the phone.
Yeah. So you're going through all of that. Did you at any point, especially when baby started breathing again, did you find yourself going, and the reason I say that is because I remember taking calls as well, performing CPR, and I realize I'm not breathing as much as I should be because, you know, I'm at the edge of my seat, you know, going through this and just praying, like, let this person be okay. Let these people be okay. And yeah, so that's why I asked, because you're doing all of this stuff. And when you finally get a moment, you realize, or you notice oh, okay, I need to breathe too.
Yes. Well, it's that big, like after it was all said and done, because I'm still trying to help her on the phone, and then I'm on the radio because medics are arriving and I'm trying to tell her, go downstairs, you know, getting all that done. When it's all said and done, you hang up and you just go, okay.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I kind of did that right there with you. So yeah, exactly. And then, so right after that, what happens? Do you have a moment to just kind of, you know, reflect, or do you go right to the next call? Also, was this at the beginning of a shift or was this at the end of a shift?
This was at the end of my shift, and I was having, right before the call came in, I had moved consoles. Somebody was working on it. I was having a conversation with somebody else. We were right in the middle of the conversation. So I went ahead, did the 911, did the entire call. You take your deep breath, you regroup, and then we went back to the same conversation. I was leaving in 15 minutes, I believe. So I didn't even tell anybody about it. Nobody knew about the call. It showed up when they were doing a random QA.
What are the
on our
odds of
calls.
that?
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody about it. I just went about my business, and it was one of those calls that stuck with you.
Yeah.
And I didn't talk about it at first because to me, everything worked out. It was fine, but not knowing what happened afterwards bothered me. So when I came back from my time off, I didn't even have to say anything. They knew what happened. They told me what the outcome was. And it really helps knowing what the outcome was.
Oh, of course, yeah, because for those watching and listening that who might not even know, that's one of the biggest things for dispatch is that we don't get that closure. At least not always, unless people know about a specific call, or you have someone who lets you know, or if you even get a chance to reach out to somebody to ask, a lot of times you don't know. So when you came back and you're saying, that they knew and they were telling you this and you got this closure, was it because they were aware of the call because of the random QA? Or okay, serious again, what are the odds that that random QA would have been that? I can just imagine the person doing the QA, and also for those watching, listening who don't know, QA is quality assurance. So every dispatch center is different. But so just for an example, my dispatch center, every month we would pull a non-emergency call and an emergency call, and we would check it for quality assurance. So are you asking the main questions in the beginning? And then there's a point system. And if for whatever reason, if you don't meet that point system, then you end up getting talked to for someone to just kind of talk through the call to see, what was going on and where your mind was during that time. Because, we want to stay on top of these things. So I can imagine that person randomly choosing that call and listening to it and thinking, what the hell?
Yeah.
like this is amazing. Like, this was a good thing. And, you come back and then they're talking to you about it. So again, well done. I mean, chef's kiss to
Thank
your
you.
work. Yeah. Really, really well done. And so then you find out that you're going to get this award.
Well, I
And
didn't find out I was going to get this award.
oh, they
That's
didn't
a
tell you.
whole different story. I came to work just normal. I didn't know anybody was even talking about it still.
Yeah.
And I came to work. I'm doing my job, 4 p.m. People start showing up. And a guy comes in and he's got like this little dolly cart that he was bringing with him. And it had all this equipment on it. And I didn't know what it was. He was from the news station. He sets this camera up in dispatch so that video you saw of me in dispatching?
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. I didn't know that he was coming. And so they spring it on me and he's set up and he's asking me questions. And I'm like, I don't know what to say right now. I didn't know what to do. Well, then during the interview, he says, are you excited to meet the family? And I was like, what? Meet the family? I had no clue. I didn't know this was happening.
Wait a minute. You met the family the same day, though?
Yeah. I met them an hour after I found out. And it was only by accident that I found out that I was going to meet them. They were going to surprise me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he asked the question and my boss looks at me and she's like, oh, yep. So that one was out. But yeah, they kept it a secret until the minute the guy walked in with the video cameras.
So I was going to mention, I was waiting for a moment to mention it, but while you're in that video, while you're dispatching, there's kind of like you can hear you talking, right? But it's a long shot of just like your bun, like the back of your head for the longest time.
It's just me dispatching, but they couldn't pan over to anything because you can't show anything on the screen.
Right, yeah. So and you can only show so much of like a close-up of someone typing, or like right here, a close-up.
Yes. So that's all I got was my bun because I was working.
Oh, okay. So this makes this story even more amazing because a lot of times, people will end up saying, look, we've got the news coming in and it's for a call that you took, and sometimes they don't say anything else, or they'll say the news is coming in and just clean up your consoles, move your chips, or whatever you have, your multiple drinks or whatever. And then they'll spring it on, but you had no idea.
No, I was working by myself. I just had to keep going.
Well, and I wonder if, and I'll just ask now, maybe you've thought about this, but do you think it helped out a little bit better to get it this way? Like, even if they told you, hey, you're actually going to get an award today and the news is coming, but they don't tell you that you're going to meet the people that you helped out, like even that is all right. But do you feel like maybe because you didn't know, one, that you were going to get this award, and two, that you were going to meet the people, that it kind of helped with your nerves a little bit or anything?
Yes,
Okay, because
very much so.
maybe that's why they did it, because they thought, you know what, she might not dig this, or not just that, maybe not that you won't dig this, it more so, the anticipation and maybe suspense would like really like bring up the anxiety, like I don't know what to do, I'm going to meet these people, and
Yep.
like I helped them, but I was just doing my job.
Yeah,
And a
that's how
lot
I felt. And my boss actually said the reason why she didn't tell me because she was scared I was going to bail on her.
Start
And then
running.
she's got to do the news interview.
Well, okay, so that's pretty funny too, but I will say, and because I've done it myself, a lot of times when there's something good, and even something big, but something good that happens, that's what our response always is I was just doing my job.
Mhm.
And I feel like, especially now, more so now that well, maybe not just more so now, but just in general, because I've talked to some people, and they've had kind of this thing happen where I've had to say to them, it feels like sometimes we need permission to be happy about the things that we've done. And it's not that we're gloating, it's not that we have a big head like, yeah, I did that, or whatever. It's just knowing that, in a sense, like, you're a superhero, man. And to a lot of these people, that's what you are, because of the work that you do, the amount of power that you have in your voice, in your story. And it's okay for us to be happy about the awesome things that we do, because a lot of times people dwell on a lot of the harder things, but there's also rewarding things. And I love this whole story, and I wasn't expecting you to tell me that. I had no idea that you didn't know until that moment that they showed up. It's hilarious because I can just see you there, especially because of this video and those little clips. Just see you there, seeing somebody walk in and having this look on you, like, what are they doing? And then him telling you or asking, so how do you feel about meeting the family? And you're like, what?
Yeah, my boss is a trip. I should have expected it. She's awesome that way.
That is cool. So then, you get this award, and you end up meeting the family, and also the baby and stuff.
Mhm.
How are you feeling in that moment? Like, how was that for you?
It was exciting to
Mhm.
actually, because you don't get that ever.
Right, yeah.
So it's exciting. You get to find out what happened, where they are now. You can see with your own eyes they're okay. Everything's good.
That probably ends up helping even more with that closure piece, to be able to have that as, for lack of a better way to put it, just like the icing on the cake, that
Yes.
you get to meet them, and it's there. And you've got
Mhm.
this award as well. And now, you know, if you decide to be a trainer or anything like that later on, even if you don't, you have this story. So if anyone that you talk to, or anyone who comes in, you're able to share with them too, like, there are good things that happen in 911,
Mhm.
and you're proof of it right there. So well done.
Thank you.
Damn, well done. That is, oh, that's like a twist ending right there. You just not knowing. Oh man, I love it. And so as we go into the wrap up of this episode, which it has been awesome to have you on, Ashley, and just hear your story, how you got into dispatch, your perspective, and just being able to open up and talk a lot about these things, and also to share this story as well. I've got one last question for you, and I will say this: that with this question, it's not to change anything, because I feel as though there are a lot of things that we go through and we experience that bring us to where we are at today, or the person that we are today. So if you could go back in time to a year ago to talk to yourself before you started or as you were starting this career, what would you say to yourself?
Absolutely do it. I This is the best decision I've ever made. I'm having the time of my life and I love it.
Awesome. That is perfect right there. Excellent. Thank you again so much for what you do in the profession and for coming on, sharing your story, and keep being awesome. This is great.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's been awesome. So hang tight really quick. I'll be right back with you here in just one moment. And for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can simply go to links.co/IM911. And that is links with 2 I's.co/IM911. And you'll find everything there. You'll find my email, social media, where to follow, where to hear the latest episodes of the Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the Imagine Listening podcast. And new episodes are going up. I just put one out yesterday for the Imagine Listening podcast. I have another one that I'm putting up today, as well as a new episode of Within the Trenches. So you can find all of those there. And also the link to the free Trenches community, where I have over 200 hours of continuing education for 911 professionals. That's the virtual events that I did for Dare to Be Great 1 through 6, as well as 45 rounds worth of the Dispatchers Roundtable. It's topics, everything 911 you'll find there. Once again, that is for free. There's also a link there that you can click on to schedule an episode with me. So whether you are new to dispatch, seasoned, or you are retired, I would love to help share your story to literally millions around the world. So hit me up. I would love to have you on. Also, Dispatch podcast merchandise, you can find it there, as well as the Imagine Listening books, volume 1 and 2. Again, it is links with 2 I's.co/IM911. This episode has been sponsored by Rapid SOS, Safer Together, and the leading AI company in public safety. Thank you very much. Thank you to subscribers, all of you watching, listening, supporting, and sharing. You can see this on Facebook, LinkedIn Live, as well as YouTube, X, and there are clips on Instagram Reels, TikTok, as well as Facebook Reels. You can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one. Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.